Hey guys, it's Sam from Sammy's Reviews and I'm so excited for this video. I've been working on it for a long while. This is a new episode of Guide to Blank, which is a series which I started at the beginning of the year, where I tell you an introduction of certain people or certain movements. In today's episode, we're gonna be talking about one of my favorite directors, one of the best directors of all time, Michael Haneke. He's an Austrian film director who has been making movies constantly since 1989. Before that, he used to make TV movies such as Variation or Where War Edgar Allan, Die Rebellion and Frolin. He makes movies in English and French and German. Currently he's teaching film directing in the Film Academy in Vienna. His career is so successful, it includes a lot of awards, including the Grand Prix for Best Director in Cannes Film Festival for The Piano Teacher, and he won Best Director Award for Cachet in Cannes International Film Festival as well. He also won the Golden Globe for Best Foreign Film for The White Ribbon. He also won an Academy Award for Best Director for Best Foreign Movie for Amour. But his greatest achievement must be winning the amazing, prestigious award, the Palme d'Or, twice in the span of 3 years, which makes him the 7th director to do so and the only Austrian director to win it. This is a huge achievement. His career span is over 31 years old, including his narrative features, his TV movies and his stage productions. So all these achievements and all these accomplishments makes him a great person, and he is a very complex director. He likes to be present in his movies. In each Michael Haneke movie you can see Michael Haneke. He has things to say. That's why he has certain characteristics, certain themes that he likes to tackle in most of his movies. And in this video I'm going to be telling you and introducing you to the most common Michael Haneke themes and the most common Michael Haneke characteristics, using camera and using the technicalities behind the movie. This is going to be part 1 of 2 parts about Michael Haneke. The first one is going to be just an introduction where I'm telling you again the characteristics and the themes, and the other one is going to be ranking his movies from best to worst, and it includes many reviews for each movie. So let's start off with the themes. Some of the very common and recurrent themes in Michael Haneke's filmography include how our mind is under the influence of media. And by influence, I mean negative influence. How our dreams and hopes and purposes are all things that we perceive and build through media. And in his movies, media is not a good thing, it's the enemy. He likes to tackle the theme of the repercussions of consuming far-fetched fiction because it makes you a corrupt person. This takes me back to Plato's theory that exposing our citizens to poems and to art and to media, poems at that time, but now it's art and media, all these things makes people corrupt from the inside. It makes the new generation question things and becoming more and more rebellious, and therefore the idea of a noble person does not exist. Also, he likes to talk about the price of having materialistic dreams and how it can break a person and break a family and break the community. And again, these far-fetched dreams and these fictional dreams, we perceive them or we create them through the media. Also, he has been talking about the clash between individualism and the modern life or modernity, and how it is very hard to become an individual, having your own identity, your own personality in a world where all personalities are made through globalization and colonialism and all these things that shatter your identity. It's very hard to become yourself as an individual in the world of the modern man, because it's very hard to draw the line if your personality is actually created by you or it is imposed on you unconsciously. Some of the themes that I don't see many directors tackle, but it is exclusively for Michael Haneke, is the post-colonial guilt, and this is very important. This is an idea that I was not aware of before seeing a movie like Cachet, because before seeing it I did not realize what is the meaning of post-colonial guilt and how it can affect a person. But when I saw Cachet and I started to understand why is the main character acting like that, what's the meaning of that, I started to get into the idea of post-colonial guilt, and this is very very interesting. Also, he likes to sympathize with the third world countries, and he always tackles people who have kind of cultural shocks and reverse cultural shocks. One of the most important things that Michael Haneke likes to do is depicting dysfunctional families that seem actually wholesome from the outside, and how they have wrong children upbringing techniques which makes their children kind of not so well in the head. Also, some of the themes that you see constantly in Michael Haneke's movies is the destructiveness of the routine, of the mundanity of life. How mundanity can destroy a family or destroy a person, because by being mundane, doing a routine and having every day as the same day, you start to take media as an escape, and this media gives you ideas and dreams that are far-fetched and almost unrealistic, and therefore you become corrupt, which brings us back to the very first theme I talked about. Also, along with this idea, he dislikes the idea of fictional violence, and he always tackles the idea of fictional versus real or non-fictional violence, and how media makes you see a lot of violence and tells you it's okay to see it as long as it's fictional, it's not real, it's not happening in real life. But this fictional violence creates some sort of anger or violence inside the person who's perceiving this violence, and he's always asking this idea: is it okay to show violence, real, gory, horrible violence, as long as it's in the context of fiction? All these characteristics, all these themes makes Michael Haneke great and makes him present in each of his movies. These are his own beliefs, his own ideas, and he puts them in the movie, and each time you watch the movie, it's amazing how all these ideas starts to build up and you kind of know him a little bit more and more. Moving on to the characteristics of Michael Haneke. These are some characteristics I compiled thinking that this is an introduction to Michael Haneke's techniques. First off, it's no surprise that Michael Haneke is in love with long shots. He loves the idea of long shots. His scenes can go on for so long and the characters barely moves in this scene. It's amazing. If you're into this type of slow burn style, you're gonna love his movies. I totally recommend Cachet. Again, this is the second time I'm gonna be talking about Cachet, but not only in Cachet, all of his movies have long shots. Another characteristic that he always incorporates in his movie is focusing on the action, not the doer. So basically, when he shows you a character, he shows you his hands doing something, his eyes looking at something. For example, a movie like The Seventh Continent, it takes you almost 30 minutes to know your main characters. All you're seeing are hands, people washing the dishes, people giving a cashier his money, a cashier putting people's groceries in bags. All these actions, but you never see the doer, you never see the characters. This again highlights the idea of the destructiveness of the mundanity and the routine of everyday life, because it makes you without an identity, and therefore there is no reason, it's not worth it to show your face as a character, because you're not a character, you don't have a single identity. It doesn't matter whose hands these are. Also, an amazing, one of my favorite characteristics for Michael Haneke is how the songs or the music is incorporated from within the movie itself. So there's no soundtrack in his movies. If there's a soundtrack or if there's some sort of music in his movies, it's because the characters in this moment is listening to music. For example, the very first scene of Funny Games, where the family is on a road trip going back to their home and they listen to CDs. Another example, a student in the film Amour gives his teacher a CD and she listens to it, so we listen to it as well. Because he believes putting a soundtrack or putting some sort of music in the movie adds a boundary, adds a layer of fiction to his movies, and he aims for realism. He loves realism. He wants his movies to be as realistic as possible. So creating music, creating soundtrack pushes the viewer away from the movie. Another cool fun fact characteristic in his filmography is that most of the couples in his movies are named Anna and George. Some other recurrent names such as Thomas, Eva, Pierrot. You always see these names coming up in movies. Going along with the theme that media is the enemy, there's always a scene in Michael Haneke's movies where there's a TV or some sort of a media representative in the movie that's on fun and delivering some sort of news, while horrible things are happening with the characters. I'm not gonna give you a direct example of this, but watch out for a TV scene in Funny Games, because this is kind of a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say anymore, but this is an excellent example of what I'm saying. And as I told you, children in Michael Haneke's movies are not so children-like, they are kind of robotic, and this is because Michael Haneke uses children as a symbol, as a metaphor. They are a walking symbol. They mirror their parents' upbringing techniques and they mirror their surroundings. They are not a character of their own. For example, the little boy in Cachet or the little boy in Funny Games. And of course, Michael Haneke has a very famous quote that movies should not be entertaining, and this is what he aims in his movies, hence why there is always no soundtrack. He tries to mimic literature in some way or another, such as in the movie White Ribbon. All the actors that worked with Michael Haneke before swears that there is zero improvisation in his movies. It may seem spontaneous, but it's actually very staged and very planned, which makes him an excellent director. Some of the actors that he loves to work with include Isabelle Huppert and of course the beautiful Juliette Binoche and Ulrich Mew, Arno Fisch and Jean-Louis Trintignant. These are some hard names to pronounce. These are some of the themes and characteristics I compiled to give you an introduction to Michael Haneke. Of course, this is not everything about Michael Haneke. He is so much more than that. Please check out his movies. I'm gonna tell you my favorite 5 movies for him so you can be able to check him out. But if you want a little bit more, if you want mini reviews about each movie, look out for another video I'm gonna be releasing, part 2 of this video, where I talk about each and every single movie for Michael Haneke in brief. It's gonna be a long video, so stay tuned for that. So my favorite 5 movies for Michael Haneke include The Piano Teacher, Amour, Code Unknown, Cachet, White Ribbon, and The Seventh Continent. These are movies which I heavily recommend. They are all ranging from 8 to 10 out of 10. It's excellent. His filmography, honestly, if you can see the entire filmography, see the entire filmography. You are not gonna lose anything. It's very hard to come by a director that is very established and very confident. He knows what he wanna say, he knows how he wanna say it, and it's great. Seeing his filmography has been an honor, and discovering him bit by bit makes me feel so close to him, so close to his art. And this is exactly what he wants. He wants art not to be entertaining, but to be realistic, to be touching, to be so close to the viewer. Have you seen any of Michael Haneke's movies? Are you going to check him out? Please do. Thank you so much for watching, and see you. Bye!